I'm Chip from the Digital Grandstand, and finally, welcome back to the Beyond the Finish Line report for the 2017 Belgian Grand Prix. Well, at the first glance, it wasn't the most thrilling GP of the season, but hold on, there was more to it than meets the eye. In fact, I would say it was one of the top 5 F1 races so far in 2017. Yep, you heard me. Even though the odds-on favorite won, it was much closer than one would have expected. Indeed, Lewis Hamilton secured his 58th victory in his Formula 1 career while also claiming a record-equaling 68th pole position to move him joint first in the all-time record books alongside Michael Schumacher. Although pure speed and aero efficiency were paramount for his win, he also drove in a style, if anything, unconventional for him. However, stories of the Belgian Grand Prix also developed behind him, not overshadowing his amazing performance but surely adding to the whole drama of the weekend. Let's see what happened. Starting with qualifying, surprisingly, both Williams cars were out in Q1. This was both unexpected and baffling at the same time. On a track that rewards great power deployment and top-end speed, Williams with their Mercedes power units were at a loss to explain their poor performances on Saturday. And speaking of top-end speed, McLaren Honda and their horsepower deficit to the big teams really raised some eyebrows when not only Alonso but also Van Dorn progressed into Q2, with Honda bringing upgrades to both cars, especially on Stoffel's one, with the Belgian getting many grid demotions. Therefore, the team had to think rather outside the box. This was achieved in a rather ingenious fashion, with first Van Dorn providing slipstream for Alonso and on his slow down lap the Spaniard returning the favor. This was also tried in Q2 with Van Dorn again helping Alonso to a rather brilliant P11 on the starting grid. Other notable performances in qualifying left both Renaults in the top 10, with Palmer having an all-in-all amazing day. In the top 10 shootout, the luck ran out on Palmer's side of the garage, and he was left unable to do a single lap in Q3 due to gearbox issues. Perez just got the best of his teammate in the last run, with Nico Hülkenberg producing a great lap to line up best of the rest behind the Mercs, Ferraris and Red Bulls. Verstappen blew Ricciardo out of the water with an amazing lap half a second quicker than his teammates. Ferrari elected to do just one run in Q2, thus saving a brand new ultra-soft set of tires for the race. This was also leaving the strategy a bit open but also unsettling the Mercedes garage. Nevertheless, Hamilton was unfazed and produced one of the quali laps of his career, setting a time half a second quicker than his teammate. In any other day, this would have meant a guaranteed Mercedes 1-2, but due to a mistake Raikkonen made on his final run, he was able to help teammate Vettel squeeze on the first row, using a similar slipstream tactic as McLaren did earlier. So, at the start of the race, the order was Hamilton from Vettel with Bottas and Raikkonen lining up on the second row. Lights out, and Hamilton makes a great start, keeping P1 in the first corner. However, as slipstreaming is immensely useful round Spa-Francorchamps, Vettel had an amazing run down to Eau Rouge and onto the Camel Straight. Pulling out of the toe before the braking zone, the Ferrari seemed to make the move stick, but the superior top-end speed the Merc had ensured Hamilton retained his position. This was only the first missed opportunity Vettel and Ferrari would endure in the Grand Prix. Behind the leading duo, Bottas, Raikkonen and the Red Bulls kept their respective starting positions. Kimi had a go at Bottas for third and Ricciardo on Verstappen for fifth. None came to fruition and the order was going to stay like that until lap 8. From P7 down, however, all hell was breaking loose. Alonso made one of his trademark starts to make no less than 3 places. Behind him, Hülkenberg and the Force India boys were in a war of their own. Ocon and Perez had their first moment at the start, with the Frenchman forcing a move on the inside and Perez, having not seen him, squeezed him between his car and the exterior pit wall. The resulting tire smoke made for a great allegory for the mounting tensions between the two Pink Panthers. Having dispatched off this pair, Hülkenberg chased down on Alonso and on the second try he made the move stick, even though with the aid of DRS. Brilliant racing right there, see? Right there. Further moves on Alonso by Ocon, Perez and Grosjean in successive laps made for another radio jam by the Spaniard, who labelled the McLaren Honda performance as embarrassing. Can't say he doesn't have a point. Start of lap 8 and Verstappen was shown taking the flat-out Eau Rouge turn at a rather pedestrian pace. Yep, yet another mechanical failure for the Dutchman. With double-waved yellow flags shown while the marshals cleared the Red Bull car, all drivers slowed down a tad for that section. Well, all bar one. Kimi Raikkonen, having seen the car halfway behind the safety rails, kept his foot on the loud pedal. The race stewards were not impressed and handed him a 10-second stop-go penalty, which is understandable if a bit excessive in my view. This threw things around at Ferrari a bit, as they were hoping Raikkonen was going to challenge an off-form Bottas for third in the latter stages of the race. As it was, this penalty moved Kimi on a damage limitation mode. With the pit stop window open, teams had a choice to make. Either fit a set of super softs and go for a two-stop strategy, or fit the softs which might make it to the end but were also leaving the two-stop an option a bit later. Both Mercedes and Ferrari went for the latter, with the sole running Red Bull of Ricciardo going for the first option. Thereafter, the race slowed down a tad, action-wise. The plan for both Hamilton and Vettel was to do the opposite the other will do. If Ferrari were going for a two-stop with their brand new ultra-soft set, Mercedes would have left Hamilton out and retained track position, and vice versa. This was not going to happen though, as the Force India pair find themselves yet again dicing for the same bit of track. With Ocon hot on Perez's heels on the start-finish straight, despite a 5-second penalty for the Mexican for overshooting a braking point, the Mexican moved to the inside, blocking his teammate, but also hitting Ocon's front wing with his rear right tire. Half of Esteban's front wing was gone and Sergio's tire was shredded. A double-point scoring finish for the pink team was thrown away yet again. Both pitted, but Perez had to retire shortly afterwards with the damage too substantial. However, with bits and pieces of Force India everywhere, the safety car was called out for 5 laps. A risky one-stop strategy turned into a two-stopper. Theoretically, this should have played on Ferrari's game. With 11 laps to go, the faster ultra-soft tire set was a great asset for the red team. Mercedes, meanwhile, had to settle for a new set of softs. With the field bunched up behind the safety car, Hamilton was at a loss. The soft compound was very hard to bring up to temperature, unlike the ultra-soft. The next 2 laps would decide the winner of this Grand Prix. With the safety car heading for the pits, Hamilton made a slight error. By his own admission, he was in the wrong engine mode from the final chicane down to the first corner. With 4 car lengths between Hamilton and Vettel down the start-finish straight, but with the gap closing fast, Hamilton went 90% full throttle on the run to Eau Rouge. Vettel, sensing an opportunity, closed right in. Nose to tail at the top of the hill, and Lewis floors the accelerator. Vettel, slipstreaming behind him, moves to the outside way too early, and Hamilton has no problem taking the inside at the end of the camel straight. Crisis averted, and with his softs heating up second by second, Hamilton had no trouble keeping Vettel behind him for the rest of the race. Behind them though, a 3-way battle for the final podium place was shaping up nicely. Ricciardo made the most of his new set of tires after the safety car and was glued to the back of Bottas's Mercedes. Less than 2 tenths behind, a recovering Raikkonen was also looking to join in on the action. What followed was an absolutely amazing double overtake, with not only Ricciardo but also Raikkonen demoting Bottas down to 5th. On the camel straight, Daniel pulls out of the slipstream of Valtteri and chooses the left-hand side. Raikkonen, using the slipstream from both cars ahead of him, takes the inside line. Ricciardo brakes as late as possible without locking up the wheels and emerges in 3rd place. Bottas has to take evasive action, thus Raikkonen gets through as well. Overtake of the flipping race. And this would be the order the top 5 would finish. Behind them, Hülkenberg delivered a brilliant 6th place for Renault, while amazing drives from Grosjean, Massa and Sainz ensured a rather colorful top 10. Ocon salvaged what he could after his front wing change, but 9th at the flag was an awful result for Force India, considering they were targeting P6 and 7. And that was the 2017 Belgian Grand Prix. It was not as action-packed as some would have wanted, but it made clear one thing. For the first time in 3.5 years, Mercedes are on the back foot. This was a race they should have won in emphatic fashion. Instead, they had a race-long battle with Ferrari on a power-sensitive track. With Monza this week also falling in this category and Singapore an all but assured win for Vettel and co, Mercedes and Lewis have work to do, which makes it all that more interesting for us. Thank you very much for watching this review of the 2017 Belgian Grand Prix. If you've enjoyed it, like, share and subscribe for more F1 related content. Also, let me know in the comments what are your thoughts of this GP and who was your driver of the weekend. I've been Chip from the Digital Grandstand. You can find me on Twitter at chip_DGS. See you in a bit with the Italian Grand Prix predictions and preview.